Hi, and thank you for watching my video. For this observation project, I decided to interview my dad. He has had a stutter for as long as I have been alive, and I thought it would be interesting to listen to how he spoke rather than what he spoke. I understand that there are different levels of stutters, ranging from a stutter that people do not really notice to a stutter that is so severe that it cuts off communication. My participant has a mild to moderate stutter that causes disfluency, and I observed him to see how this type of stutter affects his career and daily life. My participant picked a career where he would have to talk to others and at conferences. He has learned over time that he is who he is, even with a stutter. No one has made a negative comment to his face about his stuttering, so he never felt he had a reason to feel isolated or different. He also feels confident through the techniques he was taught that this is the best he could ever talk. This made me admire my participant even more, as he does not let his speech disorder get in the way of his passions. My participant was diagnosed with a stutter at around the age of 8 or 9 years old. As he went to speech therapy, the speech pathologist gave him some techniques to help lessen the stutter. They told him to expand his vocabulary, to find words that would replace the words that tended to make him stutter. The speech pathologists also gave him a few breathing techniques to help my participant when he was nervous, as nerves tended to make him stutter more. The last technique he was taught was to put the first phoneme that would make him stutter to the end of the previous word. For example, rather than saying Anna Gumpel, he would say Anna Gumpel, but he would say it fast enough where it would not be too obvious. As my participant is a grown adult, there is no intervention plan that would help improve his speech, but it is vital for him to keep using the techniques he was taught in order for him to keep his speech the way it currently is, to make sure that it does not decline. I was interested in interviewing my participant because, as I have said before, I have been around stutters my entire life and I never thought it was weird or different. My friends around me and their parents never stuttered growing up, but I never thought anything of it until college. A student who lives on my floor made a comment about how my participant stutters, and it made me realize that this was not a normal thing. Understanding stutters can give me a greater appreciation for the people in my life who do stutter and give resources to my future students who do stutter. For my observations, I focused on the production areas of the brain, such as the Broca's area, as well as the phonemes he produces, to see if there is a pattern in the specific phonemes that would make him stutter. My participant has a mild to moderate stutter that is prominent but does not hinder communication. My observations of my participant started with me talking to him casually on the phone, having a normal conversation with him. However, rather than listening to what he said, I listened to how he said it in order to find stutters. During our first conversation, I noticed that he did not stutter too much. But if he did, it was always in the beginning of a word. I know now that my participant did not stutter too much because he expanded his vocabulary so wide in order to avoid as many words as he could that would make him stutter. As I kept observing my participant, I kept pushing for topics with words that I knew would make him stutter. For example, I knew that my participant had a son that was a junior in high school and was starting to look at colleges. I knew from prior knowledge that the word college would make him stutter. So I focused one of our conversations on that. In this talk in particular, I noticed that my participant only stuttered in the beginning of specific words, such as college, budget, and graduation. But he would not tend to stutter over words such as application and early action. A few topics that we mentioned in class that are relevant to my observation are naming sounds and the Broca's/Wernicke's area. As I was observing my participant, I paid close attention to the kinds of words that made him stutter. I noticed words starting with M, B, and G made my participant stutter. Through our lesson in naming sounds, I know that M is a voiced bilabial nasal sound, B is a voiced bilabial stop sound, and G is a voiced velar stop sound. Through this knowledge, I can find an understanding of the type of sounds that would make him stutter. This can help me understand the level of severity of the stutter, as well as an intervention plan. When I have conversations with my participant, he hears me clearly and never asks for clarification, so I know that his auditory process system is working. Also, when he answers my questions, my participant talks about relevant information regarding the previous statement, so I know that his Wernicke's area that deals with understanding language is also working. The only issue in this process is his production of language, as there is a tendency to stutter in the beginning of specific words, so I know that there is a problem regarding the Broca's area. The following video is from one of my observations with my participant. Please pay close attention to the beginning of the words he uses.
I am. Did you go out and enjoy that warm weather? What day was that on? Was that Friday?
Friday. Yeah, it was nice. That was when Emily, Tara, and Amanda came. Like their first day, so we walked around for a little bit.
Cool.
As viewers can see, my participant struggled with certain phonemes such as D and W at the beginning of the word. From my observations with my participant, I knew that he also struggled with other phonemes such as B, G, and M. All the phonemes that my participant struggled with from the video and my observations is what my participant calls hard sounds. It is hard to categorize what hard sounds specifically are, but my best guess is they are voiced consonants that are usually bilateral or stop. Those sounds in particular is what my participant struggles with the most. My participant did not have an issue with the speech therapists and the techniques he was taught. He believed that it was working for him and that as long as he continuously uses them, his speech will not decline. As well as talking to my participant about his speech therapy experiences, I also talked to a graduate student studying speech pathology, and she had a very different opinion on the approach that was taken. According to her, the magic age is 7, meaning if a stutter goes away before the age of 7, it was simply a child fluency disorder. However, if the stutter does not go away or appears after the age of 7, it is now a permanent speech disorder. As my participant's stutter did not appear until the age of around 8 or 9, it was clear this was something he had to deal with for the rest of his life. Rather than trying to fix the stutter or make it go away, the graduate student studying speech pathology's approach was extremely different. Her intervention plan was to focus more on the acceptance of a stutter and self-confidence. She also planned to create short and long-term goals as well as having session objectives. She has learned in her classes that it is not beneficial to try techniques to make the stutter go away because after the age of 7, it won't. It is more important for the child to accept who they are even with a stutter. However, she did say that in the field of speech pathology, there is a debate on the topic of stuttering. Some speech pathologists believe in a direct approach, which is similar to what my participant did, where they gave him tools to help him stutter less. There is also the indirect approach, which is similar to what the graduate student talked about. The indirect approach talks more about self-empowerment and learning to accept yourself with the stutter. In her graduate classes, she was taught the indirect approach. So she believed the indirect approach would have been the best way to treat my participant had he been 8 or 9 years old today. Overall, I believe this entire project made me learn more about the different types of current and past interventions needed regarding stuttering. However, I still have a few questions about the topic. My participant's stutter started at around the age of 8 or 9 years old, roughly around the same time his parents were in a complicated divorce. Could traumatic life experiences, such as divorce, result in speech impediments like a stutter? Another question I have regards genetics and speech impediments. My participant has a son who also has a slight stutter, but both of his daughters do not have a stutter. Does genetics play a role in the development of speech impediments such as stuttering? Once again, I enjoyed working on this project and learning more about how stuttering affects daily life. As I have stated earlier, I have been around stutters my entire life, so it was interesting to view stutters from a different perspective. I got to learn more about what it means to stutter, as well as certain ways I could potentially help my future students. Thank you for watching my video.